Hello everybody, welcome to Israel's Church of Living God. I'm Brother Rodney and Brother Caleb will be reading today. We'll be doing a lesson today entitled Day of Atonement. Now, I'd like to welcome everybody out to this feast, the Day of Atonement. Now we're going to read and show you what this Day of Atonement is all about. And because I know a lot of people say, well, why are y'all keeping the Day of Atonement when the Lord done away with the feast days? Well, we're going to show you that the Lord did not do away with his feast days, and today is the day, the beginning of the Day of Atonement. Hallelujah. Let's go to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, Leviticus 23. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. And we're going to pick it up at verse 2. Leviticus 23 and 2. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocation. Even these are my feasts.
Now he said, these are his feasts, and these feasts you're supposed to have in holy convocation, which is a holy gathering. Skip down to verse 4. Go ahead.
These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their season.
Now, do you know people are still saying, hey, brothers just said it today, those are the feasts of the Jews. The Jews supposed to be doing those feasts. Well, right here it just said, these are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which you should proclaim in their seasons. Which means that this feast comes annually that we get ready to deal with. So let's get to this feast. Let's skip down to verse 26. Skip down to verse 26. Go ahead and read it.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of an atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you.
See, that's why we're here. Because we are having a holy convocation tonight. That's why we're here. Because we're having a holy convocation tonight. Go ahead and read, which is a holy gathering. Go ahead. What are you supposed to do this night?
And ye shall afflict your soul. And offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
Now we're going to find out, what does he mean? He said afflict your soul. What do you mean by afflict your souls? Verse 28, go ahead.
And ye shall do no work in that same day. For it is a day of atonement.
Now he said you should do no work. He didn't say you shall do, like he said, for the blowing of the trumpets, no servile work. He said on this day, you are not to do any work. Read that verse 28 again.
And you shall do no work in that same day. For it is a day of an atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God.
Now, let's find out, because we're going to come back to this in 1 minute. Well, let's find out, because he said you shall afflict your soul. So this don't mean go and beat yourself up. We're going to show you what afflict your soul means. Let's go to Ezra, the 8th chapter. Ezra, the 8th chapter. And let's find out what he means by afflict your soul. We're going to Ezra, the 8th chapter. And we're going to pick it up at verse 15. Ezra 8 and 15. How's everybody tonight?
Yes.
You're going to make it through the day. Don't worry about it. We do this every year. Now, the ones that's got to take medicine and you got to eat food with your medicine and everything, then you got to do what you got to do. Amen. But you fast as much as you can. Amen. Ezra, the 8th chapter. Ezra, the 8th chapter. Pick it up at verse 15. Go ahead and read it.
And I gathered them together to the river that runneth to Ahava, and there abode we in tent 3 days. And I viewed the people and the priests, and found there none of the sons of Levi. Skip down to verse 17, because we're going to get it, we're going to hit it and move. Verse 17, go ahead and read. And I sent them with commandment unto Idu, the chief at the place Cassiphia. And I told them what they should say unto Idu. Go ahead. And to his brethren, the Nethians at the place Cassiphia. That they should bring unto us ministers for the house of our God. Now he said that they should bring unto us ministers. House
for the house of our God. Skip down to verse 21. So he gathered them all together. Look what he told them. Go ahead and read it.
Then I proclaim a fast there.
He said, then I proclaim a fast there.
At the river of Ahava. That we might afflict ourselves before our God.
That we might afflict ourselves before our God. So, because just like the Lord had written in Leviticus 23rd chapter, you shall afflict your soul. So now he's saying right here, he proclaimed a fast there at the river of Ahava, that we might afflict ourselves before our God. Because that's what afflicting your soul is. It is fasting. Everybody understand that? Amen. Go ahead and read that scripture again. Verse 21.
Then I proclaim a fast there at the river of Ahava, that we might afflict ourselves before our God, to seek of him a right way for us, and for our little ones, and for all our substance.
So you know, they seeking the Lord, because sometimes you got to take this a little further when you seeking the Lord. You know, you praying to the Lord, but the Lord not answer you. Sometimes you got to take a little further and go afflict your soul, yes, which means fast to the Lord. Now, let's go. We're going to show you now how you're supposed to fast. Let's go to Jonah, the 3rd chapter. Jonah 3. We're going to Jonah, the 3rd chapter. And we're going to show you how you're supposed to fast. Because some people have an idea in their minds about fasting. You know, after so many hours, I can eat crackers while doing my fast. Or I can sip a little. You can drink juice during the fast. No, you can't. No, you hear people say these type of things. So we're going to show you how you're supposed to fast or afflict your soul. We had Jonah 3 and 4. Jonah 3 and verse 4. Go ahead and read it.
Then Jonah began to enter into the city a day's journey. And he cried and said, Yet 40 days and Nineveh shall be overthrown. So the people of Nineveh believed God and proclaimed a fast.
And the people of Nineveh, they believed God and they proclaimed a fast. Go ahead and read.
And put on sackcloth. From the greatest of them even to the least of them. For word came unto the king of Nineveh, and he arose from his throne, and he laid his robe from him, and covered him with sackcloth, and sat in ashes.
So he believed too, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
You know, he a king. He took off his robe and put on some sackcloth and sat in ashes. So he believed the Lord. He believed what the Lord too, didn't he? Keep reading.
And he caused it to be proclaimed and published through Nineveh by the decree of the king and his nobles, saying, Let neither man nor beast, herd nor flock, taste anything.
Stop right there. You see what he said? He said, and he caused it to be proclaimed and published through Nineveh by the decree of the king and his nobles, saying, Let neither man nor beast, herd nor flock taste what? Anything. So I don't know, you might want your dog to fast too. I don't know. Because he said, the man or beast don't taste anything. So in other words, just close your mouth. Pretty much, just close your mouth. Go ahead and read.
Let them not feed, nor drink water.
Let them not feed, nor drink water. That is how you fast. That is how you afflict your soul. You don't drink neither water, nor do you eat. I mean, the Lord, once out of a year, the Lord commands you to fast. I mean, you can fast anytime you want to. You know, if you want to get the Lord's attention, or you want to ask the Lord something, you understand? You can fast anytime, but this is the time that he commands you to fast, or commands us to fast. What verse you stop at?
8.
Skip down, read verse 8. Go ahead.
But let man and beast be covered with sackcloth and cry mightily unto God.
Now these people, he know how to humble themselves, don't they?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yea. Let them turn every one from his evil way. And from the violence that is in their hands.
Skip down to verse 10. Go ahead.
And God saw their works.
And God saw their works. See, they proclaim a fast unto the Lord. The Lord saw their works. And what did he do? Go ahead.
And God saw their works, that they turned from their evil way. And God repented of the evil.
And God repented of the evil. Go ahead and read.
That he had said that he would do unto them. And he did it not.
So now we understand how to fast, how you afflict your soul, and that's fasting, right? Now, and we understand how you fast. You eat nor drink. That is how you fast. Now, let's go back to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. Back to Leviticus 23. Leviticus 23, because I had a brother, well, how you know afflicting your soul? How you know that means fast? I said, well, let's read. And then, you tell me, is this afflicting your soul or not? After we read. Leviticus 23 and 28, Leviticus 23 and 28. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
And ye shall do no work in that same day.
Now we're at the Day of Atonement. Now he said you shall do no work in that same day.
For it is a day of atonement. To make an atonement for you before the Lord your God.
Go ahead.
For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people.
Go ahead.
And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people.
Go ahead.
Ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings.
Now you see that? You shall do no manner of work. No manner of work. Now we're going to come back to this in a little while. But you shall do no manner of work. It's a statute throughout your generations forever, right? Let's go now. Let's go to Amos, Romans, the 3rd chapter. Romans 3. Because when you don't fast before the Lord, it is a sin. You're a sinner when you don't keep the Day of Atonement and fast before the Lord. It's a sin. But let's read something right here real quick. Romans 3 and 23. Romans 3 and 23. When you get it, go. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Let's read. We're going to read the definition of atonement first. Definition of atonement.
This is on the Vince Compact Bible Dictionary. Atonement, page 63. Satisfactory. Reparation for an offense or injury.
Now, so it's a reparation. In other words, it's a payment for an offense or an injury.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
That which produces reconciliation.
Oh, it produces what?
Reconciliation.
Reconciliation means that, it was covered. This offense was covered. And now you have been reconciled or cleared of guilt. Go ahead and read.
In the Bible, it means the covering of a man's sin through the shedding of blood.
It's a covering of a man's sin through what?
The shedding of blood.
The shedding of blood. Go ahead.
In the Old Testament, the blood of the sacrificed animals. In the New Testament, the blood of man's Redeemer, Jesus Christ.
That's it. So now it is a covering for man's sin. Now, let's find out, because everybody has sin, haven't they? Amen. A lot of people think because we say we're Israelites that we haven't sinned or we don't sin. We human. Just like everybody else. Y'all think y'all better? No. So let's read this real quick. Romans 3 and 23. Romans 3 and 23. Go ahead and read that.
For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God.
All have sinned and come short. What is sin?
Transgression of the law.
Transgression of the law. So all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Now, we're going to get back to the atonement in just a minute. So we got to find out what all this is all about, don't we? That's what I tell people, when they say the feast days are done away with. I say, well, do you know what they're about? Well, no, brother, I don't know. Okay, well then how can you say that it's not, or the Lord had done away with it then? That makes absolutely no sense to me. But anyway, let's go to Exodus, the 26th chapter, Exodus 26. Because like I always say, the feast days mean something. You just got to sit down and listen and find out what they mean. Exodus 26 and 1, Exodus 26 and 1. Go ahead and read.
Moreover, thou shalt make their tabernacles with 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue, and purple, and scarlet. With cherubims of the cutting work shalt thou make them.
Now look, this is a tent that they had, and so now the Lord getting ready to set this tent up into a tabernacle. Right? Verse 2, go ahead.
The length of one curtain shall be 28 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain 4 cubits. And every one of the curtains shall have one measure. Now,
so he said every one of the curtains shall have one measure. Skip down to verse 30. Skip down to verse 30. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
And thou shalt rear up the tabernacle according to the fashion thereof, which was showed thee in the mount. And thou shalt make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet, and fine twined linen of cunning work. With cherubim shall it be made.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt hang it upon 4 pillars of shittim wood, overlaid with gold. Their hooks shall be of gold upon the 4 sockets of silver. And thou shalt hang up the veil under the tacks.
And thou shalt hang up the veil under the taches. Go ahead and read.
That thou mayest bring in thither within the veil the ark of the testimony.
Now look, he said, now the ark of the testimony going to be brought in within the veil. Go ahead and read.
And the veil shall divide unto you between the holy place and the most holy.
Stop right there. Now we got 2 veils here now. This veil here, rather, is going to divide between the holy place and the what? Most holy place. Now I'm saying this for a reason. So we just laying a little groundwork right here. He said this veil you're going to set up is going to be between the holy place and the most holy place. Because this is where the Ark of Covenant is going, behind the veil in the most holy place. Go ahead and read.
34. And thou shalt put the mercy seat upon the ark of the testimony in the most holy place.
See? So this is where the ark of the testimony went, in the most holy place, behind the veil, right? You got the holy place, and then you got the veil, and then you got the most holy place, and then you got the ark of the covenant sitting in the most holy place. Everybody understand this?
Amen.
Go ahead and read.
And thou shalt set the table without the veil. And the candlestick over against the table on the side of the tabernacles toward the south. And thou shalt put the table on the north side.
All right, so now we're not going to get all the way down into this. So let's go, we're going to read about this again, because the writer over here in Hebrews is going to tell you a little bit more. Although he can't speak everything about it, but he's going to tell you a little bit more. Let's go to Hebrews, the 9th chapter, Hebrews 9. Hebrews 9, and we're going to pick it up at verse 2. Hebrews 9 and 2. Hebrews 9 and 2. Everybody got it?
Amen.
Go ahead and read it.
For there was a tabernacle made, the first wherein was the candlestick, and the table, and the showbread, which is called the sanctuary.
Now we just read that, right? Go ahead and read.
Verse 3. And after the second veil, the tabernacle, which is called the holiest of all.
After the veil, the tabernacle, which is called what?
The holiest of all.
That's what we just got through reading, didn't we? The holy of all. You got the holiest right here, then you got the veil, then the holy of holies behind the veil. Go ahead and read.
Which had the golden censer. And the ark of the covenant overlaid round about with gold.
Go ahead.
Wherein was the golden pot that had manna, and Aaron's rod that budded, and the tables of the covenant.
Go ahead. Now this was in the Ark of the Covenant. All this was in the Ark of the Covenant. Go ahead and read.
And over it the cherubim of glory shadowing the mercy seat, of which we cannot now speak particularly.
See, he said we can't tell you every little detail about it. We can't tell you every little detail about it. But go ahead.
Now when these things were thus ordained, the priest went always into the first tabernacle, accomplishing the service of God.
Now, so he went in there all the time, accomplishing the service of God. We don't see what he was doing when he went in there all the time, accomplishing the service of God. Go ahead and read.
But into the second went the high priest alone, once every year.
Stop right there. You see that? He went into the Holy of Holies how many times a year? Once a year. So he went behind the veil in the Holy of Holies once a year. With what? Go ahead.
Not without blood.
See, so he took blood in the Holiest of Holies once a year. Read that verse again.
But into the second went the high priest alone, once every year, not without blood.
Go ahead.
Which he offered for himself and for the errors of the people.
Ooh, you mean the priest had to offer up blood for himself? That's right, because what? He is a man. And he sinned too. The book said, there is none without sin. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. The only one that haven't sinned was Jesus. Now, so he offered up blood for himself. He went into the holiest of holies with this blood once a year. So he offered up for himself and for the sins of the people, right? Now, let's go to Leviticus, the 4th chapter. Leviticus, the 4th chapter. Let's see him offering up this blood. Because remember, he went in there often too, didn't he? Let's go to Leviticus, the 4th chapter, Leviticus 4. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Leviticus 4 and 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, if a soul shall sin through ignorance against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which ought not to be done.
Now wait a minute, you mean a soul can sin? Yeah, a soul can sin, because that's your body. You are the soul, not some soul that's inside of you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sinning, and the soul that's in you would be sinning, right? But when the Lord get ready, sin gonna bring about what? Death. So if he gonna throw your soul, which is inside of you, into the lake of fire, he gonna throw you in the lake of fire. You gonna be thrown in the lake of fire. That you are the soul. Go ahead and read though.
Yes, sir. If a soul shall sin through ignorance against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which ought not to be done, and shall do against any of them, if the priest that is anointed do sin according to the sin of the people.
Now wait a minute, he said the priest that is anointed do sin according to the sin of the people. Go ahead.
Then let him bring for his sin, which he hath sinned, a young bullock without blemish unto the Lord for a sin offering.
Keep reading.
And he shall bring the bullock unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord, and shall lay his hand upon the bullock's head, and kill the bullock before the Lord.
Now some people try to say, well, this is kind of barbaric. You mean y'all God killing animals and everything? Hey, look, our ways are not his ways. Neither are our thoughts, his thoughts. So he got his reason for doing this. Verse 5, go ahead.
And the priest that is anointed shall take the bullock's blood and bring it to the tabernacle of the congregation.
Now he's taking this bullock's blood and offering it up for himself, right? Because you remember, he went into the tabernacle and often, didn't he? And then once a year behind the veil, which is the Holy of Holies, right? Once a year, and he took blood with him too, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
Now look at, this is what he was doing in the tabernacle when he went in there often. He was offering up blood. Skip down to verse 27. Skip down to verse 27. Go ahead and read it.
And if any one of the common people sin through ignorance, while he doeth somewhat against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which ought not to be done, and be guilty.
So look, just because you didn't understand that you sinned, you still sinned. Well, I didn't know this, and I didn't know what you still saying though. The Lord might wink his eye at you and let you go or whatever, but you still sin though. And that's for the people that sin in ignorance. It's still a sin, ain't it? Go ahead and read.
28.
Or
if his sin which he hath sinned come to his knowledge.
Now he understand that he sinned now. Go ahead and read.
Then he shall bring his offering, a kid of the goats, a female without blemish, for his sin which he hath sinned. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering. And slay the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering.
Go ahead.
And the priest shall take of the blood.
Stop right there. Stop right there. Now the priest shall take of the blood.
And the priest shall take of the blood thereof with his finger. And put it upon the horns of the altar of the burnt offering. And shall pour out all the blood thereof at the bottom of the altar.
Go ahead.
And he shall take away all the fat thereof, as the fat is taken away from off the sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar for a sweet savor unto the Lord. And the priest shall make an atonement for him.
Stop right there. And the priest shall make an atonement. What did he make the atonement with though? He made it with the blood. And the priest shall make an atonement for him.
And it shall be forgiven him.
And it shall be forgiven him. So if the priest sinned, he had to take out the blood. If the members of the congregation, they sinned in ignorance, they had to do what? Bring up, the priest had to take the blood from their sacrifice, right? Now this is what he went into the tabernacle often for. But then he went behind this Holy of Holies once a year, right? We're going to find out what day he went in there once a year. Let's go to Leviticus, the 16th chapter, Leviticus 16. And we're going to pick it up at verse 2. Leviticus 16 and 2. Leviticus 16 and 2. Will you get it? Go ahead and read it.
And the Lord said unto Moses, speak unto Aaron thy brother, that he come not at all times into the holy place within the veil before the mercy seat, which is upon the ark, that he die not.
Ooh, you see that? He said, look, tell Aaron, don't come in here at all times. Because we talking about behind the veil in the Holy of Holies. How many times was he supposed to go behind the veil in the Holy of Holies? Once a year. So Lord, tell Aaron, don't come out here all the time, because if you do, you're going to die. You're going to get killed on the spot. Go ahead and read. Now the Lord, he was pretty serious about this, wasn't he? Because he going to kill the high priest for coming in there more than once a year.
It's written.
This is serious, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
For I will appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat. Thus shall Aaron come into the holy place with a young bullock for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering.
Now he said he's going to come behind him with a sin offering and a burnt offering. Go ahead and read.
Verse 4. He shall put on the holy linen coat, and he shall have the linen breeches upon his flesh, and shall be girded with the linen girdle, and with the linen mitre shall he be attired.
Go ahead.
These are holy garments. Therefore shall he wash his flesh in water, and so put them on. And he shall take up the congregation of the children of Israel 2 kids of the goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering.
Now look, he said, look, this once a year now you're doing this. He said, you're going to bring, and he shall take of the congregation of the children of Israel 2 kids of the goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering. Go ahead and read.
And Aaron shall offer his bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make an atonement for himself and for his house.
Wait a minute, he's going to make an atonement for himself and for his house. Go ahead and read.
Verse 7. And he shall take the 2 goats and present them before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats. One lot for the Lord. And the other lot for the scapegoat.
Now he said, he's going to cast lots on these 2 goats, one for the Lord and one for a scapegoat. You know what a scapegoat is? Scapegoat, he's going to take on the sins of the people. Like some people say, well, look, man, you did the crime, so I'm not going to be no scapegoat for you. I'm not going to take your punishment for what you did, but this goat had to take on the punishment for the sins of the people. This was the scapegoat. Had 2 goats, right? One for the Lord and the other one a scapegoat. Go ahead and read.
And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which the Lord's lot fell, and offer him for a sin offering.
Now look, one of the goats he going to offer for a sin offering. Go ahead and read.
But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord to make an atonement with him and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness.
Now wait a minute now. So one goat is going to be sacrificed before the Lord, and the other one is going to be let go into the wilderness. Yes, he's going to be the scapegoat. So now we got a dead goat, and then we got a live goat, right? And this is once a year. What day we doing this on? The Day of Atonement. Because the Day of Atonement comes when? On the 10th day of the 7th month. What? Once a year, right? And Aaron had to perform this ritual when? Once a year. So this is being done on the Day of Atonement. Read that verse 10 one more time.
But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord to make an atonement with him and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness.
Go ahead.
And Aaron shall bring the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house, and shall kill the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself.
Now, he's supposed to kill this sin offering, right? The other one, he's going to let go in the wilderness. Skip down to verse 14. Go ahead.
14. And he shall take the blood of the bullock and sprinkle it with his finger upon the mercy seat eastward.
Wait a minute. Now here, he's back there in the holiest of holies, right? At the mercy seat, sprinkling blood on the mercy seat. How many times a year did he do this? Once a year. And how many times a year was the Day of Atonement? Once a year. So he's doing this on the Day of Atonement. He was atoning for himself and his family and for the sins of the people, right? He done killed one goat, took that blood, and he sprinkled on the mercy seat, and he took the other goat and let him go into the wilderness. So we got a live goat and we got a dead goat, right? Go ahead and read.
And before the mercy seat shall he sprinkle of the blood with his finger 7 times. Then shall he kill the goat of the sin offering that is for the people, and bring his blood within the veil. And do with that blood as he did with the blood of the bullock.
Go ahead.
And sprinkle it upon the mercy seat and before the mercy seat.
And
he shall make an atonement for the holy place, because of the uncleanness of the children of Israel, and because of their transgressions and all their sins. And so shall he do for the tabernacle of the congregation that remaineth among them in the midst of their uncleanness.
Keep reading.
And there shall be no man in the tabernacle of the congregation when he goeth in to make an atonement in the holy place, until he come out and have made an atonement for himself and for his household and for all the congregation of Israel.
No man can come in there, and he can't even come out until he sprinkle his blood and make atonement for himself, his family, and for the congregation. You can't go nowhere until you finish this. Go ahead and read.
18. And he shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord, and make an atonement for it, and shall take up the blood of the bullock and of the blood of the goat, and put it upon the horns of the altar round about.
Look, he made an atonement for the altar. Look at this. Go ahead and read.
And he shall sprinkle of the blood upon it with his fingers 7 times, and cleanse it.
Go ahead.
And hallow it from the uncleanness of the children of Israel.
Go ahead.
And when he have made an end of the reconciling the holy place.
Stop right there. You see what he was doing? Reconciling the holy place.
And the tabernacle of the congregation. And the altar. He shall bring the live goat.
Go ahead.
And Aaron shall lay
So
both.
when he was sprinkling all this blood, what was he doing? He was making reconciliation, wasn't he?
Indeed.
Well, we're going to find out. We was reconciling people back to God for their sins. Because you keep seeing, you sin long enough. Well, everybody's sin. That's why I read that.
Come on.
So your sins got to be reconciled for every year. You sin and don't even know you sin it. But you sin it though, aren't you? That's why we keep the Day of Atonement, because sometimes we sin, we don't even know we sin, so our sins have to be reconciled. Go ahead and read though.
And Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat, and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel.
See, now the goat, he ain't did nothing, did he? But the Lord took this scapegoat, and confessed all the sins of the people on this goat. The goat ain't did nothing. He ain't sinned. But yet the Lord using this goat as a scapegoat for the sins of the people. The sins of the people are going to be put onto this goat. And he's going to take on the sins. And he's going to be let go into the wilderness. Go ahead and read. So we got a live goat and we got a dead goat too, don't we? Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. And confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel and all their transgressions and all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat.
Go ahead.
And shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. And the goat shall bear upon him all their iniquities unto a land not inhabited.
And he shall bear upon him all their iniquities unto a land not inhabited. Go ahead.
And he shall let go the goat in the wilderness.
And the goat is going to let this goat go in the wilderness. But he confessed all the sins of the people on this goat, right? We got a live goat and we got a dead goat or a sin offering goat, right? Let's go now. Let's go to Leviticus, the 17th chapter. Leviticus 17. Let's just see real quick what really made the atonement for the people. Leviticus 17 and 11. Go ahead and read that.
For the life of the flesh is in the blood. And I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your soul.
Go ahead.
For it is the blood that maketh an atonement for the soul.
It is the blood that maketh the atonement for the soul. That's why Aaron took that blood in there often when he was going in there every week or every day when he went in there, right? Offering up this blood. Then once a year on the Day of Atonement, he would go, behind the Holy of Holies, and he would offer up that blood on the mercy seat, right? Now he done took this 2 goats and he done slayed one of them for a sin offering, and then the other one he laid all the sins of the people upon that scapegoat and sent it into the wilderness, right? Let's go now, because he said it is the blood that make the atonement, right? Let's go to Hebrews 9 and 22. Hebrews 9 and 22. I ain't gonna hold y'all long tonight. Hebrews 9 and 22. Go ahead and read it.
And almost all things are by the law purged with blood.
By what?
By the law.
By the law. Well, we here in Hebrews, though, he still talking about by the law. He said almost all things are by the law purged with blood. Go ahead.
And without shedding of the blood is no remission.
Without shedding of the blood is no remission. Without shedding of blood is no forgiveness. Because that's what Aaron had to do when he was high priest. He had to shed that blood for the forgiveness of himself and for the people, right? And without the shedding of blood is no remission. Without the shedding of blood is no forgiveness for sins. Everybody understand that? Let's go to Psalms, the 40th chapter, Psalms 40. Psalms 40, and we're going to pick it up at verse 6. Psalms 40 and 6. When you get it, go ahead and read it. Psalms 40 and verse 6. Go ahead.
Sacrifice and offerings thou didst not desire.
Now wait a minute. We just read that he did desire those sacrifices, didn't he?
Come on.
The priest had to offer up the sacrifice for the sins of the people and for himself, right? So the Lord did desire. He only desired it for a time, though. He only desired it for a time. Because we saw that he did have the priest to offer up these sacrifices, didn't he? Go ahead and read.
Sacrifice and offerings thou didst not desire. Mine ears hast thou opened. Burnt offerings and sin offerings hast thou not required. Then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me. I delight to do thy will, O my God. Yea, thy law is within my heart.
Wait a minute. He said thy law. Now you know who this is talking about? This is talking about the Lord right here.
Yes, sir.
He said thy law is within my heart. So now we're supposed to be walking after Christ. Then what we supposed to be doing then?
Walking after the law.
Walking after the law. He said, thy law is within my heart. Let's go now. Let's go to Romans, the 15th chapter, Romans 15. Romans 15, and we're going to pick it up at verse 3. But he says, sacrifices and offering thou didst not desire. Romans 15 and 3. Everybody got it? Go ahead and read it.
For even Christ pleased not himself. But as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproached thee fell on me.
Look, the sins that the people committed against God, they fell on me. The reproaches of them that reproached thee, Father, the reproach of them that reproached thee fell on me. Now, let's get a little bit more clarity for this. Because he said, as it is written, didn't he? So let's get a little bit more clarity on this. Let's go to Psalm the 69th chapter where it's written at. Psalm 69. Psalm 69, and we're going to pick it up at verse 8. Psalm 69 and verse 8. Let's get a little bit more clarity on this. Psalm 69 and 8. Because, you know, in essence, that's what this lesson is all about. That's what this night is all about. What we're really about to read right here. Psalms 69 and 8. Go ahead and read it.
I am become a stranger unto my brethren, and an alien unto my mother's children. For the zeal of thine house hath eaten me up. And the reproaches of them that reproach thee are fallen upon me.
Now he said, the reproaches that reproach thee are fallen upon me. Now we just got to read in Romans, right? Go ahead. Now we're going to find out who this is actually talking about. But go ahead and read.
When I wept and chastened my soul with fasting.
Wait a minute. You see how he chastened his soul? Because this is how you afflict your soul. By what? Fasting. Go ahead and read.
When I wept and chastened my soul with fasting, that was to my reproach.
Go ahead.
I made sackcloth also my garment, and I became a proverb to them.
Skip down to verse 20. Skip down to verse 20. Go ahead.
20. Reproach hath broken my heart, and I am full of heaviness. And I looked for some to take pity, but there was none.
Now, we talking about the Lord right here. He gonna show you. I'm gonna show you this talking about the Lord right here. When he said the reproaches that reproached thee fell upon me. In other words, when they sinned against you, God or Father, I had to pay the price for it. Just like that sin offering, you had the live goat, right, which was a scapegoat, and then you had the dead goat, which was a sack of sin offering, right? They had to pay the price for man's sins, didn't they? Both of those goats did. Now Jesus telling the reproach of them, the reproach thee have fallen upon me. He said the reproach have broken my heart, and I am full of heaviness. Go ahead and read.
And I looked for some to take pity, but there was none.
Go ahead.
And for comforters, but I found none. They gave me also gall for my meat.
Now wait a minute. Who was giving gall for their meat? When Jesus was on the cross, they gave him gall. The gall that vinegar was on it, right? He said, they gave me gall for my meat.
And in my thirst, they gave me vinegar to drink.
And in my thirst, they gave me vinegar to drink. So now we know who this is when he said, the reproach of them that reproach thee have fallen upon me, Lord. Let's talk about the Lord, right? But remember, we had a live goat and we had a dead goat too, though, right? So now we're going to start looking at the parallel between those two goats on the Day of Atonement, right? Let's go to 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter, 1 Peter 2. 1 Peter 2, and we're going to pick it up at verse 21. 1 Peter 2 and 21. Does everybody understand so far? Amen. 1 Peter 2 and 21. Go ahead and read it.
For even hereunto For even hereunto were ye called. Because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps.
That we should do what?
Follow his steps.
What he said, the law is in my, thy law is in my heart, right?
That's right.
So we should follow his steps. Then what we supposed to? The law supposed to be in our hearts too, then, right?
That's the plan.
Go ahead and read.
Who did no sin?
Who did what?
No sin.
Just like those goats. That the one goat was a sin offering, the other goat was a scapegoat. But they did no sins, did they? Now Christ, he did no sins. The reproach of them, the reproach thee, Lord, fell upon me. I'm taking on, I got to pay the price for your sins, man. Now he did no sin, right? Go ahead.
Neither was guile found in his mouth. Who, when he was reviled not again. And when he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judged righteously. Who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree.
Stop right there. Who his own self bare our sins